Salve, salve, Maestro here, and today we are back for another French campaign in Victoria 3. In the last episode, I wouldn't be capping if I said that we basically beat every European great powers besides Austria-Hungary and Spain, but Austria-Hungary is our ally, and actually they are a major power too, so we can disconsider it, and Spain also is a major power. Oh, they're actually a great power. I didn't expect that. Like how? Because they have a lower GDP than the Austrians, lower army. Well, probably this is because of the navy, because navy grants a lot of prestige. So probably that's why they are considered a great power. But even then, we have basically beaten the Italian powers, the North German Federation, Russia, Great Britain, Sweden, Netherlands, Belgium, and even non-European powers like the US. We also beaten them in the war against Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. But well, now we need to take some rest from the European wars. Like, I will come back here because there are still some things to be done. Like, the North German Federation is still more powerful than I expected because the cut down size CB that I enforced over them was not as helpful, I thought, because I thought that they would explode a little bit more. At least I added a CB over them to liberate Saxony, which was and probably still is the highest GDP over the German area. Yeah, exactly, together with Hesse and Bohemia. But now our focus should shift a little bit more to the Africans and get some colonies, not only because of the journal entries, but also for our economy. And also, we need to deal with some internal issues because in the last episode, I basically ignored everything about laws. Like, from time to time, I was enacting some of them, but I was not heavily focused on it. And I think it's important to take a look at it. But still, the first thing we're gonna do is try to increase our relations with these great powers that are crazy mad with us, like Great Britain, Russia, and United States. But I still want to keep some high influence in order to decrease our infamy. So for that, I'm gonna get a rivalry, and then I need to decide whether if it's against the Sicily's Ottoman Empire, North German, or whatever. Like, the British, I don't want to take as rivals because they have interest in every place of the world, so they can join any wars against us. But the Germans, I was looking here, they got almost no interest outside Europe. Actually, they literally don't get any interest outside of Europe, and it's basically all of Northern Europe. So we can safely declare rivalry over them, and maybe the two Sicilies is also a worth rival. But I will keep them like that because they like me and they also got an interest here on North Africa. So while I don't annex my subjects and conquer Tunis from the Ottoman Empire, I'll leave them there. And since I already talked about the North Africa region, I will start to annex my subjects here in order to complete the Algerian department, and then I will probably start to think about going deeper over Africa. So making Sokoto, Borno, these guys here my protectorate, and also going over to Indonesia because, of course, I didn't forget about it. Also, something I've been ignoring for all of the campaign, and I actually forgot about it sometimes, and other times it was not worth it to take the diplomatic hit about it. But I didn't form a power block yet, and it would be very helpful to get the bonus not only from the sovereign empire, which is of course the one I'm going for, but also from the principles. So I will just wait a little bit until I can improve more these relations with Great Britain, Russia, all the other guys, and then I will form the power block. Not only because of the relations, but also forming a power block will cost us some influence, and I want to keep them high in order for us to go as far as we can from the 25 limit, because our wars right now will be more focused on unrecognized power, so we will grab little infamy and we can be safe about it. I was trying to focus a little bit more over the Asian bit here because I noticed that the Empire of Japan formed, but they are still an unrecognized major power. So I thought we were in the time limit before we couldn't be able to catch a really good spot here over Treaty Port for cheap infamy, which is right now only 6. So of course worth it. And it's kind of funny because it seems that nobody cares about Japan. Like, there is no one with an interest here, And like Austria-Hungary is only appearing here because we got an alliance. I don't think that they got an interest over Japan. We can actually check. And yeah, sure, they don't have an interest over Japan. So this will probably be a easy war. The Japanese might actually accept it, but something very interesting happened in the other side of the world. Because I don't know how, but the Ottoman Empire simply exploded. I seriously didn't understand what happened because the Ottoman Empire again declared war over Egypt. And although Egypt managed to have its independence, in the other wars, the Ottoman Empire took most of the provinces they need, and now they are coming back for the rest of it. But some reason, as soon as the year flipped, every subject of the Ottoman went free. And then I thought it was because of the Egypt promising something, but no. If we check here, the only demands is to conquer land from Egypt. And like the Tunis and Tripolitania are supporting Ottoman Empire, but this is basically for nothing. And the Serbians, Wallachia, and Moldavia are not even participating. And then I thought, okay, maybe the Ottomans increased the autonomy of them, but no, they are free from the Ottomans. So we can just wait for our infamy to lower a little bit. Then we can get a return state over Tunis, which back then would probably involve some big wars with the British being involved. But no, I just need to wait for my infamy to tick down, and probably the British will be focused on this war over Egyptians because they got an alliance with the Ottomans, so they might call them. And this is free land for us. And this situation here is turning more and more crazy over time because for some reason the United Principalities formed because the Wallachians they took these two states from Russia, but it was basically free. Like I tried to see the notifications, but there was nothing about some trade states or something. And now Moldavia is also a subject over the United Principalities. Probably this is an event or some journal entry that I'm not used to it because of course this is something very rare to happen. And probably if Ludi is watching this video, then he will be delighted to see the Romanian AI actually going to form Romania. And now that the war has just begun, the Great Britain are involved in it, such as the Russians will be declaring a war over Tunis. For this war, like of course I don't need it, but I will be calling Austria since they are my allies, so it's a free help for us. And also because the stronger is your side, the less likely are the other people to side against you. So I'm just trying to avoid anyone to sneak in here and make this just harder for us for no reason. So the two Sicilies sided with Tunis. This was completely unnecessary, and I'm completely not willing to add any war goals over to Sicilies. But I actually wasted some time checking here the CBs I could enforce, and I just noticed that man, Paradox needs to change this in my opinion. Like they don't seem they want to change it, but enforcing company monopoly as an example shouldn't be as expensive as it is right now. Like 18.5 infamy only for it, like it's way more worth it for me just to go and make a protectorate here that will have a higher GDP and higher population than the Naples. So what's the point of having it available? Let me actually check here what makes that article so high infamy cost. And probably this is okay because of the population, but man, the game would be much, much better if they just removed like by half this or money transfer, let's say 7.1 for transferring £100 a week. It's nothing. This should be one infamy at most. Okay, so there was something in the last video that I couldn't just understand, and now I think I might have get it, which is how the fuck these guys are invading us through Spain. And then, if we remember right, the military access works in both ways. So if I can invade you through Spain, you can invade me through Spain too. The problem with this system is like it's inherently dumb. I don't think it makes any sense. But in these situations, not only now, but in the last video, it makes even less because I can't invade to Sicilies or Tunis through Spain. So this military access here shouldn't be allowed for them. Like it makes no sense for me. Easy war for us. They were no match for our army, but this was of course obvious. Now, I'm actually thinking about going towards Tripolitania just for fun and pretty borders, but I'll leave them there at least by now because their infamy cost is so low that just for the fun, I think it's worth it. And it is very hard to hit that perfect run in Victoria 3 because we were just not lucky over colonization because I was just waiting to finish the colonization of Kenya so I could trade it with the Great Britain because since we didn't manage to control this area because they took Zanzibar from Oman, they actually fully annexed Oman. They managed to get control over this, and then our plan to take control of Kenya just didn't happen. So basically, what I would do was trade Kenya with this state here, the state of Volta, not only because it has a bigger GDP and a bigger population than Kenya, but it would also be good for both parts, let's say, because this would ensure the dominance of the British over this region here, while I could ensure mine over the north of Africa. But as you might have seen already, just as I was waiting the final province to be colonized, the British established a colonial administration, which is the British Senegal, and they just don't care about trading Volta with Kenya, which normally the AI, the British AI would accept it since they are a colonial state. They don't even care about this exchange. So probably I would just end up with this little state over Kenya here, and maybe I will see if I can trade with Great Britain itself or any other guy for some another worth province. But let's see. And as soon as this journal entry appeared, I said about my strategy about colonizing first and then establish the colonial administration. And we are finally on time to establish these countries because I mainly finished to colonize here these regions of Senegal and Niger. Like I will still need to colonize these central areas of Congo, these areas of Southern Africa and Zanj. But these two here, I'm already safe to establish it. Even because the Senegal region here, I'm not even colonizing the state because it's a landlocked state. So I already guarantee it for myself, and as such it's more worth it to give the colonization points for these colonies here. But now that, as you can see, these two green areas are already guaranteed for us, this one is over the Niger and this over the Senegal region, I can already establish the colonial administration. So I think now it is one of that prime examples of what I say about colonization and colonial administration is because I'm in a little race against the British East Africa colony to colonize this region here. And what I always say about the colony doesn't produce enough colonization points is that you can see that the British East African colony can only produce enough colonization points for the colonial growth be 0.3% a week, while if we check mine here, it is 1.42. So we are basically colonizing 5 times faster than the British East African colony is. So if we are lucky enough, maybe we can even block them here over this lake that I don't know the name, but still is a chance that we can block their colonial growth and then secure at least more area over the Congo region for us. Interesting that when the British AI is very aggressive towards the world, everyone think it's normal, but when I am the one doing that, then people need to call the UN, the human rights. Like I'm just taking rightful lands of French. Everybody knows that the north of Africa are for the French people, but no, you just can't do it. And I was just focused into annexing my subjects here that I literally forgot about Japan. Like I gave a little time for them to strength up. But I was waiting this long because firstly, Constantine is very expensive. So if I can here, and where is annex? Here, annex subject. It is 11 infamy only for this province. And the problem is not the infamy because I already have a low infamy, but the subject loyalty is something very hard to do when you are trying to annex because a tiny little subject, just like, I don't know, if I had Montenegro as my subject, if I annex him, it will grant a plus 0.2 liberty modifier for each subject you have annexed in a time of 5 years, 3 years, something like it. So it basically turns your subject loyalty out of control. But thankfully, I remember it, and now we can come here and take a treaty port over the Kanto region, and this is very likely that the Japanese will step down, which is a good way to present a new strategy that I didn't know it worked about conscriptions. So basically, if you do not want to fight a war and you do want the enemy side to step down, you can basically do two things that will increase the probability of it actually giving in, which is increasing your conscript numbers, even though they are not mobilized, not conscripted. Just by increasing this number, it will make your enemy more fearful. But just notice that you're gonna need to pay a little bit of maintenance over it. But after they giving in, you can just disband them and everything is great. And the other stuff is just add a ton of war goes into the war. Even if you don't care about it, just pay attention to the infamy. So prefer war goals that do not cost any infamy. And then add a bunch of them so the enemy will actually be more afraid of going to war, because what the AI calculates is that the cost of going into war is the potential to receive all the war goals, while if I just give in, I'll receive just this or that. So it evaluates that it's better to give in rather than fight this war. And the Japanese Empire just backed down, so I couldn't use the strategies about increasing the conscripts or increasing the war goals, but at least I already explained that. And another thing is also call your allies. So I just forgot that I could call the Austria-Hungary since they are my ally. And of course, the most power you got to your side, the more the probability of the other side stepping down. So another example here over the Persians, I did basically the same with the Japanese, but the Japanese, I made a mistake because it would be better for me to get a investment rights before attacking them. I did not commit the same mistake against the Persians, but basically what I did was enforce a lot of CVs. I don't care about them, and you can check here that they are pessimistic, and it's fairly likely that they will back, especially if their side stands to lose a lot from the war, which is basically this. And now they are still worried, but since they are backed with the Russians, they still are going to the war. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna try to mobilize all my armies, increase the conscript, and maybe ask the Austro-Hungaries to side in. Okay, so they stepped down. I was almost worried that they wouldn't, and we got a big hit over our economy. I don't know if it is worth it, but just to explain and show, I think it's okay. You know, I've been improving with these three guys since the beginning of the episode, and still nothing happened. So I'll just give up and form my power block because I'm wasting so much time right now. Not only time, but also the bonus that it gives. Okay, so since the beginning of the campaign, legitimacy was an issue for us, but thankfully, in this whole episode, I managed to get a pretty decent, not decent, an excellent legitimacy. I have a righteous government with 100 of legitimacy, and because of that, we managed to complete the Eternal House of Bonaparte, which was part of one of these journal entries. And now we can increase the popularity of Bonaparte or increase the power of the armed forces, while both of the options will grant this no other dynasty will ever challenge the ruling dynasty again. So I think that like the legitimists will no longer exist, at least when these guys pass away, there are gonna be no more legitimists. I'll go with the popularity. But as you notice, basically the World War One began because, well, Germany is again trying to unify its country, and we are again trying to defeat it. So the Austrians are trying to conquer the Schlesien. The Russians wanted some investment rights, and as I said, I wanted to destroy the country from inside. So I'm liberating Westphalia, which is the state with the most GDP out of Germany. The mainly problem is that the Great Britain are also involved. They want to liberate Czechoslovakia from the Austria-Hungary, and this is a problem because now we need to fight all over the world. But still, even though the Austrians are worried, I still think that we can safely win this war You can just check at our numbers. There will probably be no surprises. Now, this is cool because I haven't noticed that my construction queue has ended, but the private sector is so strong that they can handle it. So I do not need to build anything because they can keep the economy growing. So we have defeated the North German Federation from a long time. We only need to white peace with Great Britain, but the problem is that the Russians just don't want it. Like, these motherfuckers are making me sweat here in order to prevent this naval invasion. That, of course, we have a superiority of at least 87, but these boats here are killing my market access. And not only that, but Austria-Hungary is being invaded. So maybe the Great Britain will be able to enforce its war goals, and honestly speaking, if my economy wouldn't suffer because of it, I would prefer that the Great Britain would be able to liberate Czechoslovakia, because all this time in the campaign, when we are fighting in Central Europe at least, we are trying to deal with the Prussian threat. But actually, in this meantime, I'm kind of creating a monster here in Austria-Hungary because they are already taken the South Germany, they are already control Silesia, Posen. So if we take a look at the GDP, at the army, at the population, we're basically creating a monster here. So if the British managed to weaken them, it would be better for us. But at least this war is finally over. And something we need to learn from it is that I need to go back researching some things over the military, mostly under the Navy one. So basically the ironclads, monitor, or self-propelled torpedoes. Now, this is one of the reasons why I love this game, and it is the economical simulation that it's so good that we can actually see some effects of real life economics or some stuff that are so complicated. Like, it's not a straightforward. It's actually something that you need to think about it and find the solutions. Because I've just unlocked the research of, where is it? Rotatory valve engines, and I knew that I had some states that were lacking some peasants. And then I went to the population tab to search which states were lacking. And here is bugged because I already did the research. And basically, what I do is just go for peasants only, and then it will filter by the peasant population of this state. And just notice that this number here, it's not the actual peasant number. And I think that this is because it also considers the peasants that are working in some farms. So it does not consider these guys here that work in their own farms. Or is it these unused arable land that have people working on it? And then what happened is that for these states that were lacking the peasants, I would just go here and try to put some PMs that would save some labor. So as an example, this steam donkey here over Oliane Berry, but it doesn't need, so I won't enable it. And what happened is that one of the ways you can save some labor is by going to your normal cereal farms and enable these harvesting tools. This will save a lot of labor. But there was some states, if I'm not mistaken, Lorraine, I need to find it. Where is it? Here. I found out something very amazing because I just said that I'm lacking some grain. You can see here is the second good that I'm lacking the most. But if I come here to Lorraine, there is no one working in the wet farm. And probably because this is not lucrative enough for it to hire new people. So basically, what I need to do here is the opposite of what most of people might think. Because when you are lacking some grain, you can always check if your purple PM is producing the luxurious good or the base good. And then if it's producing some fruits or sugar, you go for maintain single crop in order to produce more grain. Because the logic is the more grain you produce, the cheaper it is. But since this farm here is not profitable enough, it's actually better for me to switch this production method on so I can increase the profitability of this building. And as such, even though I will be producing a little bit less of grain, since it will be able to hire more people, in the end of the day, I will be producing more grain than I was before. So very amazing thing to see in a game. Like, I'm astonished by it. Bro, finally my color changed. I don't know how. and I don't know when, but I just noticed this right now, and finally I got this dark blue color. I prefer it much more over the other blue. Guys, I'm just building like the most insane state here in Alsace-Lorraine. I think that I've never tasted something like it because I am always lacking transportation. I already have public trams. I already have maxed out the railways production methods, at least the ones that I can, and still I'm not producing half of what I need of transportation. And it was good that I noticed it because I forgot to say something when I was talking about the grain, and it's about transportation and railways itself. Because I see a lot of people struggling about it, like always needing to subsidizing it and then basically bankrupting your country because you need to subsidize railways. And the fact is that when I began playing, I also suffered with this, but it's actually very basic. Like, in order to not bankrupt and not need to subsidize your railways, you just need to make them profitable. So, whenever you notice that a state doesn't have enough infrastructure and you already have built a railway, but its employment is not full, then you just need to increase the demand of transport. Even though it will decrease the productivity of the other business, it will still be worth it to do it. So you don't need to subsidize your railways. And even if you say, oh, but I want to make this industry more profitable because of this, it is still worth it because you're going to be saving some manpower at least. So if you're having some issues about making your railways profitable, just increase the demand of transportation, but not as much as I did in this state. And you just saw that I was having a war against the Ottomans, and it was basically because I was annexing Constantine, and then they wanted to get involved. So I basically used this to get a trade port over them, and now I have in North Egypt, so I can import some goods from the Ottoman Empire that I need in my countries, like silk and opium. Man, I'm finding this very, very crazy because I'm so strong right now that everybody wants to join my power block. And like, it's a sovereign empire, it's not even a trade league. Even when I was playing with the United States and I was active going to it to influence the other countries so they join my power block, I don't recall having such number of invites from people like without even try. Like now it is Surakarta. I don't even know where this is. Okay, so it's here in Indonesia, but the people that I released from Prussia already asked me to join. Argentina already asked me to join. New Granada. It's kind of crazy. I didn't expect it there. And remember in the beginning or in the middle of the episode what I said about the colonization? Well, it happened exactly what I said. So I managed to basically block the colonization from the British East Africa. They still got this little point here that technically they could colonize, but they won't because they are a colonial administration. And if I'm not mistaken, they can't colonize out of their region. So they won't be colonizing here, but even if they could, it was just a matter of time before I fully blocked them. So this is a nice proof that probably is better to colonize it first and then grant it to a colonial administration. And the Germans are back with their ambition about unifying the German region, but honestly, they are so weak that I might just leave them there because you might think like weak. What you mean? Like they got 300 army, but this is not Germany. Germany only got 60, 70 battalions. The one who got these numbers here is Brazil, man. Like they are backing Germany right now. Now, this was unexpected because like a fucking coup, man. Like everybody is fine here. The legitimacy is 99. Why to make a coup? You're neutral, like you're good. What the fuck is happening? As soon as the coup began, it already ended. What? What? It doesn't make any sense. And in the last episode, right before we started to get into our major wars against Prussia, Great Britain, and the great powers, I started building some barracks here over Morocco, not only to increase our army in order to fight these wars, but also to complete this mission here, the French Foreign Legion. And just now, I managed to fully hire people enough to the barracks. And we did it all only for morale recovery and power for the armed forces, or the same morale recovery and migration attraction plus training rate. Like now that I already trained these guys, I don't need the migration attraction or the training rate. So it's been a time not only that I have appeared, but that I've been in this position, let's say, that honestly, it's sad, but it's true. We are just unbeatable right now. So I could do anything I want, honestly. I could make everyone a protectorate out of mine. I could defeat every power that I want. And if I can't really do it right now, it's just a matter of 3 months, 4 months before I can actually increase my army and then be able to defeat them. It's a very solid position, you know. There is nothing to major to be done. Like, look at our population. I was just checking his, and I was amazed because we are the third population here, almost hitting 100 million. But our pop growth is something that I just can't believe in because 1.85 is crazy, Madu. And I'm not having a lot of bonus towards it. So the bonus of birth rates, I'm not having it from the Catholic Church. I don't have a company which grants birth rate, not from Power Block. So I don't even know where this is coming from. If I'm not mistaken, they changed it, the pop growth in this new version. So maybe this is why. But not only population, I can also say the same about standard of living, GDP. Like we're massively ahead of every other person, and this gap could be even bigger because I'm just not building construction sector. Like every construction point that I gained in this episode was from either conquering places, so I would get their construction sector, or changing the production methods, and now I'm fully on steel frame buildings. So I will wait a little bit because I still have some things to do, like the Algerian departments. And as a grand finale, I was waiting for the French Commune, the Paris Commune, to pop up, but it just didn't happen. So it's kind of strange because the Paris Commune happened in 1871, 72, if I'm not mistaken. So it should have already happened, but still I'm waiting and nothing. Maybe it's because of how my gameplay were and I'm not with a ton of radicals, maybe something like it. Still, I will play a little bit more and I'll come back, but probably I'll come back to not only end the video, but also the campaign. So some coincidence happened because you can clearly see that Louis Napoleon Bonaparte the third is not anymore our leader. He just died like a week ago, and now his son, the Emperor Louis Bonaparte, took power. And as soon as this happened, as soon as the New Year's Eve happened, I managed to complete the Algerian departments. So we basically can get assimilation and interest group approval, or migration attraction, or building throughput. I'll go for the building throughput, but honestly, I don't see any other better way to finish this campaign because it was the campaign about the Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, let's say, taking power of France and restoring its former glory by basically controlling the world, kicking the ass of the European powers just like its grandfathers, if I'm not mistaken, did, being the biggest economy and whatsoever. So I won't wait for the Paris Commune because it probably won't even happen. I will actually check the files to see what it needs to trigger, but okay. So I hope you like the episode. Comment, like, subscribe. And if you don't want to see the stats, I'll see you next time. But if you do want to see the stats, you can stick with me around.